Your daughter is whispering to the janitor. The sentence slices the morning in half. It lands between the receptionist's casual smile and Lauren Pierce's curt nod, like a dropped glass that refuses to shatter. Belmont Academy hums polished floors, breathing backlight a grandfather clock ticking like it owns time. Lauren turns on a heel to click sharp. She hasn't heard her 7-year-old daughter say a single word in 11 months. What did you just say? Her voice is even edged. I mean, the receptionist stammers. Ella usually doesn't talk, but she said something to Mr. Callahan. Mr. Callahan, who, the janitor, the woman answers as if the word should come with a dustpan. Lauren is already moving trench coat swinging. She stops at the narrow window of classroom 2B and looks in. There Ella, in a pale blue dress, curls tucked behind one ear. Cross-legged on a reading mat, she leans toward a tall man crouched beside her in gray overalls. Brown hair a little unruly. Hands nicked from work no one applauds. His head tilts in the universal posture of listening. Lauren cracks the door just enough to let in sound. See you tomorrow, Ella says barely above a breath. I'll be right here, the man answers. No indulgence, no surprise. Certainty. Lauren freezes. 11 months of appointments and laminated charts and careful games where a child never pushes air into sound, and now her daughter is saying goodbye to a stranger who probably smells like lemon cleaner and rain. She opens the door fully. Ella, get your things. We're leaving. Ella startles, then rises and clutches her backpack. The man stands too. Up close, Lauren takes inventory the way she would a witness late 30s. Eyes steady, presence unmoved. You must be her mother, he says, and you're the janitor who thinks he's a speech therapist, sharper than she intends. Something quiet moves through his eyes, pain or memory, then goes. I don't think anything, ma'am. I just listened. Well, she says, composure clicking shut next time. Leave the listening to professionals. Ella tugs at her sleeve. Mom. One syllable whispered a bird landing. Lauren's heart lurches, then folds back into a shape that can drive. We're leaving, she repeats softer. To the man, thank you for whatever that was. Outside winter air clings to spring like a grudge. Lauren's pace is courtroom fast. Ella's sneakers scuff to keep up. The sedan unlocks with a practiced beep. Doors close. The city turns watercolor behind glass. Lauren grips the wheel a second too long. 2 words from Ella. 2. And not to her. Back in the condo that floats over downtown, Lauren pours a red that's supposed to taste like cherries and resolve. The laptop opens with a chime. Fingers hover, then type JAKECALLAHAN Belmont Academy. The staff page offers a list and avoid no headshot, just a name under facilities. She narrows the search, Jake Callahan, speech therapist, New York. An old journal article surfaces, Innovative Approaches to Selective Mutism by Jacob Callahan. MS-CCC SLP. Conference footage. Pediatric Trauma Awards. A life built on returning voices. Then the timeline ends 4 years ago. License inactive. No scandal, no obituary. A man who coaxed sound from silence simply vanished and now mops floors at her daughter's school. The next morning, she's back at Belmont before her inbox can start its siren. She finds him in the courtyard, kneeling beside a sullen fountain wrench in one hand and focus in the other. Mr. Callahan, she calls. He stands, wipes his hands on a rag. Miss Pierce. I looked you up, she says. You were a speech therapist. A good one, apparently. Why are you scrubbing fountains at a prep school? I like quiet places. That's not an answer. A breath that almost becomes a laugh. Maybe I gave all my answers away. Now I just listen. The pivot happens in a heartbeat the moment arrogance should rise in him, but doesn't the moment her certainty should harden, but cracks instead. She crosses her arms because armor is faster than honesty. Did you know my daughter hasn't spoken to anyone in nearly a year? I figured, he says. I heard her hum by the music room, barely. So I fixed a loose tile and didn't say a word. Next day, she sat closer. One morning, she asked, do you like stories? I said yes. She started with that. Her voice snags. He nods. Sometimes kids don't stop speaking because they're broken. They stop because no one's really listening. You have no idea what she's been through. Lauren says warning and plea braided together, the divorce, the shouting. Doors I swore would never slam. You're right, he says, meeting her eyes without trying to own them. I don't know. But I know what silence sounds like when it isn't a choice. Tears sting. She hates that they do. She is a professional, a mother, a woman who survives Tuesday mornings. Stay away from her, she says, and hears herself sound like someone about to lose something. She turns to go and carries with her a sentence like a stone in a pocket. I'll be right here. The bell rings with private school clarity chimed to reassure donors. Children surge past in curated shoes, a river of belonging. Jake kneels again to tighten a thing that leaks. Ella lingers by a column watching a small moon unsure of orbit. She doesn't wave. He doesn't beckon. He just exists in a way that permits her to exist too. That night, Lauren doesn't open a deposition. She opens a window. The city exhales. She sits on Ella's bed, which smells like laundry and crayons, and a childhood she keeps trying to litigate into safety. Do you like stories? Lauren asks, voice careful, palms empty. Ella looks up, startled by the question rather than the person. Her hand finds her mother's like it has always known the route. She nods. Lauren doesn't launch into a fix. She just begins with a beginning more rhythm than plot. Somewhere a music box in a closet remembers how to sing. Somewhere else a man with rough hands sits in a small apartment and thinks about a girl who said goodbye like a promise. And in a quiet that finally feels earned, a mother chooses to listen. The next morning, Lauren ignores the blinking notifications on her phone. She doesn't go to her office. She doesn't check her docket. Instead, she walks back through the arched gates of Belmont Academy with a purpose that feels more dangerous than any courtroom. She finds him where the receptionist said he would be, by the courtyard fountain, kneeling on wet stone, a wrench in his hand, and the steady patience of a man fixing something the world barely notices. Water gurgles in uneven spurts, catching sunlight and throwing it against the red brick walls. Mr. Callahan, she calls, her voice cutting across the school's polite hum. He looks up, squinting, then stands wiping his hands on a rag tucked into his back pocket. Ms. Pierce, he says evenly, as though they'd left off on a pleasant note. I looked you up, she says, getting straight to the point. You were a speech therapist. A good one from what I saw, so why are you scrubbing fountains at a prep school? I like quiet places, he replies. No defensiveness in his tone. That's not an answer. He lets out a soft breath, almost a laugh, but not quite. Maybe I've given all the answers I had. Now I just listen. Her arms cross before she can stop them. Did you know my daughter hasn't spoken to anyone in nearly a year? I figured, he says, meeting her eyes. I heard her humming once near the music room. Barely audible. So I stayed where I was fixing a loose tile. Didn't say a word. The next day she sat closer. Then one morning she asked me, do you like stories? Lauren's breath catches. She started with that. He nods. I told her yes. The silence that follows feels heavier than the air between them. Sometimes kids don't stop speaking because they're broken, he adds quietly. They stop because no one's really listening. You have no idea what she's been through, she says, her voice firm but not cold. She saw me fall apart during the divorce. She heard things no child should hear, shouting, pleading, doors slamming. She saw her father leave and never come back. And the next morning she just stopped. You're right, he says without hesitation. I don't know all that, but I do know what silence sounds like when it's not a choice. His calm makes her bristle. She's used to arguments once she wins. This isn't an argument, it's something else. So what you think, I should just wait? Hope one day she forgives me enough to speak again. He studies her face like he's trying to hear the part of her she's not saying. What if he says slowly, she's waiting for you to stop talking and just hear her? The words hit harder than they should. Lauren feels her jaw tighten. She should turn, go back to the safety of things she can control. Instead, she's aware of the weight in her chest, the ache of knowing she can command a courtroom, but not a conversation with her own child. I don't have time for vague philosophy, she says, forcing steel into her tone. He doesn't flinch. It's not philosophy, it's presence. Lauren turns on her heel and starts toward the gate, each step echoing against the flagstones. But the words stick to her like rain on wool. She's waiting for you to stop talking and just hear her. At her car, she sees Ella through the classroom window, sitting cross-legged on the floor beside a stack of books. The girl's head is tilted toward the door as though she senses something or someone beyond it. Lauren's fingers tighten on the key fob. She wants to run inside, pull her daughter into her arms, demand that she never again give her voice to a stranger before her own mother. Instead, she slides into the driver's seat and starts the engine. The day drags. She sits in her glass-walled office, skimming briefs she doesn't absorb. In every reflection, her screen, the window, the framed degrees, she sees, not herself but her daughter, leaning toward a man in gray overalls saying words meant for him. By evening, she's pacing her condo, the skyline pressing in through the windows. She wants to shake off the image, but she can't. She knows about power. She knows about control. She knows that in her world, whoever controls the narrative wins. But for once, she doesn't have the narrative. She has a question. She grabs her phone, scrolls, hesitates, then finds herself typing his name again. Jake Callahan Speech Therapy Conferences. There's a clip from 6 years ago, a younger man clean-shaven wearing a black blazer speaking to a room full of peers. His voice is measured, deliberate. The caption reads, "Restoring Lost Voices, Rewiring Silence After Trauma." But it's the pinned quote beneath the video that stops her. When a child stops speaking, don't ask what's wrong with them. Ask what the silence is trying to say. Lauren exhales slowly. Somewhere in the city, that man is fixing leaks and replacing light bulbs while her daughter whispers to him. She doesn't know yet if that's a problem to solve or a miracle to protect. She just knows she can't stop thinking about it. 2 days pass before Lauren gives in to the restlessness. She tells herself she's only at Belmont because she had an early court filing nearby, but her heels know the route too well. She finds Jake in a narrow hallway, balancing a bucket and a broom, as though he's navigating a tightrope. "We need to talk," she says. His eyebrows lift slightly. Privately, she nods. He gestures toward a side door leading her into a small, unused staff lounge. The air smells faintly of old chalk and lemon polish. A single window lets in muted winter light. She doesn't sit. "I want to understand something. My daughter has refused every professional I've hired. Top therapists, world-class clinics. And then out of nowhere she starts talking to you, a janitor." "You say that like it's a diagnosis," he replies mildly. "I say it like it's not your profession." "Fair," he says, leaning the broom against the wall. He doesn't look cornered. He looks still. Lauren waits for an explanation, some admission that he's crossing a line. Instead, he just watches her. She doesn't talk. Lauren continues, her voice sharpening. "Not since she saw me break down during the divorce. She heard every word I swore she wouldn't heard me begging her father to stay. And the next morning she stopped speaking. The words hang between them. She hates that saying them aloud feels like a confession." "That's not your fault," Jake says softly. "Don't patronize me. I'm not." "But you're trying to fix her like she's broken." "She's not. She's protecting herself." Lauren's arms cross tighter, but the barb doesn't land the way she expects. "So what do I do?" "Just sit around and hope she forgives me enough to speak again." He studies her face. "What if she's not waiting to forgive you? What if she's waiting for you to make space for her silence?" Her throat feels tight. "I talk for a living. I command rooms, cross-examine liars. I'm not gentle." "You don't have to be gentle," he says, sitting down at one of the old tables. "You just have to be present." She stares at the worn wood grain between them, unsure if she's angry or relieved. "Why did you stop practicing?" she asks finally, her voice quieter now. His gaze shifts to the window. "My wife," he says. Lauren looks up. She was a singer, jazz, the kind of voice that made you close your eyes when you listened. 2 weeks after our wedding, she found a lump in her throat. By the time we caught it, the damage was done. Lauren swallows. "I'm sorry. I tried everything: therapy, experimental treatments, silent singing techniques. But I wasn't helping her heal. I was just trying not to lose her. And then one day I realized cancer didn't take her. Silence did. The room goes still. The only sound is the faint hum of the old radiator." He continues, "I walked away from the work after that. I couldn't sit across from another child trying to give them something I couldn't give the person I loved most. Lauren feels something in her chest shift. Not sympathy exactly, but recognition. The quiet shame of failing someone you swore you'd protect. She exhales slowly. Is that why you work here, to disappear partly? But then Ella sat next to me one day while I was fixing a heater. She didn't say a word, just listened. The next day she brought a book pointed to a sentence. Then she whispered, "Do you like stories?" That was her first line to you. He nods. She hasn't said it to anyone since she was 4. But it wasn't for me. It was her way of asking, "Will you sit with me in this silence?" And I did. Lauren's hand rests against the back of a chair, the tension in her shoulders loosening just enough for her to notice it. Before she leaves, she asks, "Will you keep talking to her?" "Only if she wants me to, you." The words follow her out of the lounge into the bright hallway, where children's voices rise and fall like the tide. That night, Lauren knocks softly on Ella's bedroom door. Her daughter is sitting cross-legged on the bed, crayons scattered like tiny flags. Lauren doesn't demand eye contact or answers. Instead, she sits down beside her and says, "Do you like stories?" Ella looks up, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Then slowly she reaches out and takes her mother's hand. No words, but maybe, just maybe, the beginning of one. The courtroom is a cathedral of control, and Lauren usually thrives in its echo. But today she's distracted. Every time opposing counsel opens his mouth, her mind flashes to the faint smile of a man crouched by a fountain and the way Ella's voice had curled around him like it belonged there. She wins the motion. Of course, Lauren always wins, but she leaves the courthouse without the usual surge of satisfaction. By the time she's back in her office, the glass walls feel like a display case for someone she no longer recognizes. She sits at her desk and pulls her laptop closer. She should be reviewing deposition notes. Instead, she types Jake Callahan Speech Therapy Conference. A half-dozen videos appear. She clicks the first. On screen, a younger Jake stands at a podium. Clean-shaven, black blazer, shoulders squared but not rigid. His voice is steady, each word deliberate, like he's carrying something fragile to its destination. When a child stops speaking, he tells the audience, "Don't ask what's wrong with them. Ask what the silence is trying to say." The clip ends. Lauren sits back, the words echoing in her head. They're not new words. Therapists had said variations to her before, but from him they feel different. Maybe because he's not trying to diagnose. He's trying to understand. That evening, the city glows gold against the condo's glass walls. Lauren makes grilled cheese sandwiches, simple, unpretentious, the one thing Ella will always finish. They eat at the small kitchen island, the hum of traffic seeping in from below. Ella nibbles at the crusts. Her gaze is fixed on the skyline, as though the lights are speaking in a language only she knows. "Did you have a good book group today?" Lauren asks. Ella nods, eyes still on the window. "Did Mr. Callahan say anything funny again?" There's a pause. Then softly, he said, "Silence is like a blanket, but you still get cold if no one's under it with you." Lauren's breath stills. The sandwich in her hand feels suddenly heavy. She studies her daughter's face, the faint shadows under her eyes, the way her mouth presses into thought. "What do you think that means?" Lauren asks carefully. Ella shrugs, but her voice is quiet and certain. "I think he means it's nicer when someone sits with you." Lauren nods slowly, but her mind is far away back in a dusty lounge, hearing him talk about a singer who lost her voice, and in the courtyard where water dripped from a fountain, and he said he'd just been listening. She doesn't know yet if she trusts him. She's not even sure she trusts herself in this. But she can't deny that her daughter, her silent, careful daughter, is speaking again, and the words are about him. Later, when Ella is asleep, Lauren stands at the balcony wine glass, untouched in her hand. The city hums beneath her feet. She thinks about blankets, about silence, and about a man who seems to understand both better than she does. Her phone is on the counter behind her. She could call him, ask what he meant, but some part of her already knows the answer, and that's what keeps her staring into the night a little longer than usual. Lauren tells herself she's only at Belmont for a quick drop-off, but she doesn't head straight for the exit. Her heels slow in the hallway, drawn toward the faint notes drifting from the music room. Through the half-open door, she sees Jake leaning against the wall, mop in hand, while Ella sits at the upright piano. Her fingers press uncertain keys, searching for something. It's not a song so much as a memory being sounded out one note at a time. Lauren steps inside quietly. What is she playing? Jake glances at her, then back at the piano. Not sure he says with a faint smile, but it sounds like her. Lauren moves closer. I never taught her to play. We had a keyboard once, but it mostly collected dust. She's not playing with her hands, he says. She's remembering with her heart. The words catch her off guard. I'm not sure I know how to do that, she admits before she can stop herself. You will, he says. Most people wait for children to perform. Ella's just asking to be heard. Minutes later, Ella emerges a small folder of sheet music clutched to her chest. She stops short when she sees her mother in the doorway. You came, she says softly. Lauren kneels to meet her eyes. Of course I did. Ella glances over her shoulder at Jake, who gives her an encouraging nod. Can we go to the park, she asks. The one with the lake. Lauren blinks. Ella hasn't asked to go anywhere in nearly a year. We can, she says, her voice warm but tentative. Right now. The late afternoon sun glances off the water as they walk along the shore. Ducks drift lazily unbothered by the weight of human silence. They find a bench, and for a while Lauren doesn't speak. She doesn't know if she's supposed to. Why did you stop listening to music? Ella asks suddenly. Lauren turns toward her. What do you mean? After Dad left, Ella says, the house got so quiet, but not the kind you like. Lauren exhales. I didn't want to hear songs that reminded me of who we used to be. Ella looks down, fidgeting with the hem of her dress. I thought maybe it was because of me. The words hit like a stone dropped in deep water. No, Lauren says firmly, cupping her daughter's cheek. Sweetheart, it was never you. I was trying to be strong. I thought silence meant I was holding it together. But sometimes Ella murmurs, it felt like you disappeared with him. Lauren closes her eyes. It's the kind of truth that lands without malice but leaves a mark. I'm sorry, she whispers. I didn't mean to leave you in the quiet. That night back at the condo, Lauren finds herself digging through the hallway closet. Boxes of holiday decorations, old trial binders, a dusty Bluetooth speaker, and at the bottom, a small velvet box. She opens it to reveal an old wind-up music box, silver-edged, its lacquer worn smooth. She winds it slowly, and the soft melody spills out. Ella appears in the doorway, her eyes wide. That's it, she says. That's what I was trying to play on the piano. I remember it from bedtime, before everything got quiet. Lauren kneels, the tune wrapping around them both. I didn't know you still remembered that sound. Ella looks at her for a long, quiet moment. I remember everything. Lauren pulls her close, the music box between them, the notes fragile but steady, just like the space they're starting to rebuild. The next afternoon, Lauren walks into Belmont with the music box wrapped carefully in a scarf. She doesn't go to the office or the front desk. She heads straight for the forgotten music room at the end of the South Hall. Inside, the sunlight is softer, filtered through tall windows smudged by years of fingerprints. A few old instruments line the walls, a violin with one string missing a drum, with a dent in its side, the upright piano with its keys worn to ivory shadows. Jake is already there, sitting beside Ella at the bench. Her feet don't quite reach the floor, swinging gently as she studies a piece of sheet music. Lauren clears her throat, and both heads turn. I brought something, she says, unwrapping the scarf. The music box gleams faintly in the dusty light. Ella's eyes widen. That's it? I thought you might want to learn the whole song, Lauren says. Jake smiles faintly. We can do that. He sets the music box on top of the piano and winds it once. The melody threads through the room, delicate and uneven, like a voice still warming up after too long in silence. He leans toward Ella, pointing to the keys. Each note is like a word he tells her. You don't have to rush it, just feel it. Lauren takes a seat on a nearby bench. For once, she doesn't analyze the moment, doesn't try to catalog it for later. She just listens to the faltering notes, the scrape of the bench, as Jake shifts beside Ella, the small exhale her daughter makes when she gets a phrase right. Something inside her unclenches. When the practice ends, Ella traces her fingers over the music box, almost like she's making sure it's real. Jake closes the lid gently. Same time tomorrow, Ella nods, a shy smile tugging at her mouth. As they walk back toward the parking lot, Lauren falls into step with Jake. If this, she gestures back toward the music room, were therapy, would you charge me? He looks at her with quiet amusement. No. Good, she says. Because I'd rather call it something else. He tilts his head. What would you call it? They've stopped just short of the lot. The air smells faintly of cut grass and chalk dust. She meets his eyes. Redemption. Something shifts in his expression, surprise maybe, but also understanding. That night, Lauren tucks Ella into bed with the music box playing on the nightstand. She kisses her daughter's forehead, but instead of turning it off once Ella's eyes close, she leaves it running. The melody drifts into the hallway down the stairs and into the living room, where Lauren sits with a cup of tea gone cold. She doesn't care. She lets it play. In another part of the city, Jake leans against the doorframe of his small apartment, listening to the quiet. For the first time in years, it doesn't feel like a wall. It feels like a room he's allowed to walk out of. The long table in Belmont Academy's library gleams under pendant lights polished to the point where you can see your own hesitation reflected back. Lauren sits at one end, spine straight, the measured poise of a trial attorney who knows she's walking into crossfire. Across from her, the parent advisory board members shuffle papers they clearly don't need. At the head is Mrs. Callahan, pearl necklace, perfect posture, and a voice as smooth as sanded wood. We've received several concerns, Mrs. Callahan begins, regarding unorthodox behavior. Unsupervised time between students and custodial staff. Lauren doesn't blink. You mean Jake Callahan? A pause. Yes. Mr. Callahan, has there been a complaint from my daughter? No, but from her teacher. From the principal. Mrs. Callahan hesitates. No. From anyone who actually knows what's happening. The air tightens. A man down the table dentist or hedge fund manager, Lauren doesn't care, clears his throat. It's not personal, Miss Pierce. It's about optics. The school has standards. Lauren leans forward, her tone even but lethal. You want optics. Try being a mother watching her child go silent while every expert fails. Try knowing your daughter feels invisible, and the only person who makes her feel safe is a janitor you want to dismiss because of what it looks like. Mrs. Callahan folds her hands unruffled but not unmoved. We have to consider potential risks. Risk, Lauren says, is letting a child believe her voice doesn't matter because the only person who hears it doesn't fit your picture of credibility. Before anyone can respond, the library door opens. A secretary leans in, whispers to Mrs. Callahan. The pearl necklace stills against her throat. There's been an incident in the common area, she announces. 2 students had a disagreement. Lauren is already on her feet. Is it Ella? I believe so. The hallway outside is buzzing, students frozen, mid-whisper, teachers moving quickly, a security guard holding back the crowd. Lauren's pulse hammers as she reaches the glass-walled commons. Inside, Ella stands beside an older girl clutching her cheek. Ella's fists are clenched, her face pale, but it's the sound that freezes Lauren. I said stop. Ella says loud and trembling. You pushed my book off the table. I asked you to stop 3 times. You didn't. The other girl stammers. It was just a joke. You knew it wasn't. Ella snaps. You know I hate it when people touch my things without asking. The principal steps forward, but Lauren is already inside. She crouches beside her daughter, resting a hand on her shoulder. I heard you, she says quietly. Every word. Ella's eyes shine not with tears, but with something fiercer. She didn't listen, so I made her hear me. Lauren pulls her close. I'm proud of you. Back in the library, Mrs. Callahan begins, I believe this changes things. No. Lauren interrupts, standing tall. This reveals things. Ella didn't just speak, she advocated for herself, because someone gave her permission to believe her words were worth hearing. If you remove Jake Callahan, you won't just silence a janitor. You'll silence every kid like her, so make your choice knowing who you're choosing not to listen to. She leaves before they can answer the echo of her heels, a verdict in itself. Evening settles over Belmont in muted shades of gold and gray. The parking lot is almost empty when Lauren steps out of her car and heads for the custodian's closet tucked behind the gym. The hallway smells faintly of floor wax, an old paper school scent that somehow feels steadier than her own condo. She knocks once. The door opens to Jake's shirt sleeves, rolled hair, slightly tousled, a pencil tucked behind his ear. "I heard," he says softly. "You always do," she replies. Her voice is warm but edged with something raw. "She spoke today. She roared." A flicker of a smile touches his mouth. That's the most powerful use of language when it protects. Lauren leans against the doorframe. For a moment she studies him the way she does a witness she can't decide is hostile or invaluable. You've spent so long helping other people be heard, you've forgotten you have something to say too. He tilts his head. Like what? She steps a little closer. Like how you feel about this place, about her, about me. His gaze holds hers for a beat before drifting away. I feel like I've been standing in a hallway between the past and the future, and today for the first time I didn't want to go back. Her voice drops. Then don't. Jake leans back against the frame, the faintest trace of surprise in his eyes. You make it sound easy. It's not, she admits. But you're the one who told me silence can protect. Maybe now it can carry you forward too. For a while neither of them speaks. The quiet isn't heavy. It's safe. When she turns to leave, Jake calls after her. Lauren. She pauses. Ivy didn't need fixing, he says. She just needed someone who remembered what it's like to lose their voice. Her throat tightens. And you, I needed to matter without saving anyone. She nods slowly, understanding more than she expected to. Maybe that's what we're both learning. As she walks back through the dim corridor, Lauren feels the difference in her steps. For months she's been walking away from things, her ex, her guilt, her daughter's silence. Tonight she realizes she's walking toward something. And she's not doing it alone. Lauren starts showing up in places she never used to, small, unannounced appearances that don't fit neatly into her calendar. One rainy Tuesday, she waits outside the music room with 2 paper cups in hand. When the door opens, Jake steps out, surprised. I thought you drank espresso, he says. I've downgraded, she replies, passing him the coffee. Trying to be less sharp. He smirks faintly. You're not sharp, Lauren. You're armored. There's a difference. She doesn't answer right away, just follows him down the hall toward the courtyard benches. The air smells like wet stone and pencil shavings. Students drift past, their chatter fading as the two of them settle onto the cold wood. This is strange, she admits. Talking without an agenda. That's how you know it matters, he says, sipping from his cup. Lauren studies him. I used to think words were weapons. Now I'm wondering if they're actually bridges, and I just never crossed them. He nods slowly. My wife used to say the most powerful part of a conversation isn't the sentence, it's the silence between them. The mention of Marina lands gently now like a note in a familiar song. You miss her, Lauren says quietly. Every day he answers, but there's no collapse in his tone. I don't live in the missing anymore. I live in the remembering. They sit in the drizzle a while longer, watching raindrops ripple across the fountain pool. Later that week, Lauren finds a small package outside her office door. Inside is a second-hand copy of The Velveteen Rabbit, its spine-worn pages slightly yellowed. A sticky note rests inside the cover. Because real things can't be ugly, they're just loved differently. Ella told me this last night. Thought you should know. Jay. She flips through the book slowly, fingers tracing over the lines. She hasn't read it since she was a child, but she remembers the ending. Once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always. That evening, she sits with Ella on the couch, the book open between them. Want me to read to you? She asks. Ella leans against her, nodding. As Lauren reads, she glances at the music box on the table, at her daughter's steady breathing, at the rain streaking the glass beyond. She doesn't need to fill the space with more words. The story is enough. The company is enough. And for the first time in years, the quiet feels like home. Spring light filters through the tall windows of Belmont's library. Soft and honeyed dust motes drifting like slow confetti. At a corner table, Ella sits with her legs tucked under her chair, pencil poised above a blank sheet of paper. The assignment at the top reads, Who is your hero? Lauren arrives earlier than usual, her heels muted on the carpet. She's taken the rest of the week off a first in longer than she can remember. Jake meets her at the entrance. She's in the library, he says before she can ask. Of course she is, Lauren murmurs. I think she's writing something important, he adds. Lauren smiles faintly. She always is. But before she can move away, he touches her sleeve lightly. She watches you, you know when you're not looking. When you walk in, she straightens her back, sits taller. She wants to be worthy of being seen by you. Lauren's throat tightens. I never meant to make her feel that way, I know. But sometimes even love wears armor. When Lauren approaches, Ella glances up. Can I sit? She asks. Of course, Lauren says, folding her hands in her lap. Don't read it yet, Ella warns. I won't. I'll just sit with you. For 10 quiet minutes, Lauren watches her daughter's pencil dance again. Finally, Ella exhales. Done. But I want Mr. Jake to read it first. They find him in the music room tuning an old violin. Ella hands him the paper. He accepts it like it's something fragile. My hero is Mr. Jake, he reads. He doesn't wear a cape or fix things with tools. He fixes them by listening. He listened to me when no one else could hear me. He never asked me to be louder, just honest. He showed me that silence isn't scary and that talking isn't about being right, it's about being real. He's my hero because he never tried to rescue me. He just stayed close until I rescued myself. The room goes still. Jake folds the paper carefully. May I keep this? It's yours, Ella says. Lauren looks at her daughter, eyes shimmering. You didn't even mention me, she teases gently. Ella turns startled. Mom, you're not my hero. Lauren blinks, trying not to show the sting. You're my home, Ella says simply. Heroes come and go, but home, that's forever. The words hit deeper than any verdict Lauren has ever won. She pulls her daughter into her arms, feeling something settle that's been loose for far too long. The park is waking up to spring. Tiny buds cling to branches, and a few brave daffodils open their yellow faces to the breeze. Lauren and Ella walk hand in hand along the familiar gravel path, the lake ahead shimmering in pale sunlight. They stop at a bench overlooking the water. Isn't this the one, Lauren asks? Ella nods. Where we talked after piano. Lauren sits the wooden slats, warm from the afternoon sun. I still think about that day, she says. I do too, Ella answers. Do you remember what I said to you? You said, you came back. I meant it, Ella says quietly. I chose to. From her small backpack, she pulls a folded piece of paper. This is for you. It's not homework. Lauren unfolds it to find a drawing, 2 figures holding hands, a music box between them. Musical notes float out, but instead of notes, they're hearts. Above it, in careful block letters, love doesn't always sound like a song. Sometimes it sounds like someone who stayed. Lauren feels the tears before they reach her eyes. Not the courtroom kind she can blink away, but the quiet kind that belong entirely to her. At the same time across campus, Jake is in a small classroom rearranging chairs into a circle. On the chalkboard, he's written, "Tell it how you feel it, even if it's quiet." It's the start of a pilot program, part music, part conversation for kids who need a safe place to use their voices. No media, no ribbon cutting, just 10 children, 2 old instruments and a music box on the piano. Later, when Lauren stops by to see the setup, she catches him wiping chalk dust from his hands. It's a good idea, she says. He shrugs lightly. It's not about ideas, it's about space. They just need somewhere they can speak without having to prove anything. You think it'll work? I think it already has. That evening, he shows up at her apartment with something wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. This is for Ella, he says. She unwraps it slowly, an old leather-bound notebook, its pages lined with hand-sketched music notes and personal markings. This was Marina's, wasn't it? Lauren asks. He nods. The last thing she wrote in before she lost her voice. I thought Ella might want to make it hers. Lauren's fingers trace the worn cover. You're giving this away, I'm passing it on. That night, Ella sits cross-legged on the living room rug, the notebook open in front of her. Jake shows her how to read the scrawled notations explaining each mark with the patience of someone who knows music is more than sound, it's memory. From the couch, Lauren watches them, feeling as though the 3 of them are playing the same song now, even if none of them has named it yet. The end-of-year ceremony at Belmont fills the auditorium with a warm hum of voices. Folding chairs line the polished floor, stage lights bathe the red curtain in a soft glow. and parents lean forward with cameras ready. But near the front row, Ella sits with a folded piece of paper in her lap, her shiny black shoes swinging just above the floor. Backstage, Jake crouches beside her. "You don't have to read it all," he says, gently, "just the parts that feel true today." Ella bites her lip. "What if I forget?" "Then speak from where it still lives inside you," he says. "That's where the best words come from." She nods, then turns to her mother. "Will you be where I can see you?" Lauren kneels so their eyes are level. "I'll be front row. I'll never not be where you can see me again." The principal takes the stage, offers thanks and applause, then announces something new. "For the first time, our closing speech will be given by a student whose journey reminds us that finding your voice isn't about being the loudest. It's about speaking when it matters. Please welcome Ella Pierce." Ella steps into the light. For a heartbeat, the room holds its breath. She scans the crowd until she finds Lauren, then Jake, in the wings. She unfolds her paper and begins. "Hi. I used to be quiet, not because I had nothing to say, but because I didn't know if anyone wanted to hear it. Then someone did. He was the janitor. He didn't ask me to speak. He just stayed. And somehow, that made me want to." The room is utterly still. My mom is here too. She's a lawyer, a very good one. For a while I thought she only listened in court, but now she listens in the car at bedtime in the quiet. Sometimes when she doesn't know what to say, she just holds my hand. That's even better. Ella glances down at her notes, then folds them closed. I learned that voices are like music. They don't all sound the same. Some are loud, some are soft. Some stay hidden for a long time. But when they come out, they deserve a place to land. Thank you to Mr. Jake for giving my voice a place to land. And thank you to my mom for giving it a place to grow. I'm not afraid to speak anymore because I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be me. When she finishes, the applause is not a roar but a reverent swell, as though no one wants to break the spell she's cast. Jake doesn't bother to hide the wetness in his eyes. Lauren stands, her smile breaking open with pride. Backstage, Ella runs first into Jake's arms. "You did it," he whispers. "You said I would," she replies. Lauren joins them, wrapping her daughter close. "You didn't just speak, sweetheart, you moved an entire room." Ella looks between them. "Can we get pancakes now?" Jake laughs. Now that's a proper ending. Outside, the summer air is golden and free. They walk toward the parking lot together, hands linked. There are no speeches now, no stage lights, just the kind of silence that feels full instead of empty. As they reach the car, Ella tilts her head. "Are we a story?" Lauren smiles. "We're the story." Jake nods. And the best part is, we're still writing it. Some stories begin with a voice. Others begin with silence. But the ones you remember forever are the ones where someone finally listens. Your thoughts help us create stories that matter. And if you'd like more powerful healing stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you never miss a new episode. And most importantly, share this video with someone who needs a little hope today. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We see you, we hear you, and we're honored to tell these stories for you.